in my years of doing this, okay, 20 years plus of being on the radio every single day, few things can surprise me, few things astound me, but there's occasionally a moment, an event, a scene, an image, a play where I'm like, wow. The sea of humanity last night in Kansas City is still staggering to me. God bless you. God bless you all. Because I know that my career, the way I pay my bills, is fortified by you, by those people. How many people was that? 80,000? 90,000? 100,000? Sat outside, stood outside on a wet April night in Kansas City and stared at a stage where there was no performance. And they watched for 3 hours. Tens of thousands of people. Now, when I was growing up, the draft was held at Radio City Music Hall. And I was like 12 or 13, and I said, Dad, I really want to go to the draft. I really want to go to the draft. Let's go into New York City. Let's go watch the draft. My dad was always very supportive of me being a sports fan. I got a lot of my sports fandom from him. But even he was like, I don't think so. We're not blowing a Saturday in April sitting inside to watch names recited. He didn't say this, but this was the attitude. And in retrospect, now being an adult, I can feel the same exact way. Well, we're going to blow a Saturday. And remember, at that time, it was 15 minutes in between picks. So the draft began at noon and probably wrapped up around 6 or something like that. So, we're going to sit inside for 6 hours and do what? Watch names of players you don't know, I don't know, for teams we don't care about? No thanks, Dame. I get it now. It's more of an event. They sell beer. There's a big, you saw the truck outside, and they're selling all that gear, and they're playing music in between picks, and there's supposed to be some excitement and energy. There's celebrities in the stands, and they're honoring, community groups and people that have overcome hardships, and that's cool. But at the end of the day, what looked to be an ocean of humanity stood in the grass for 3 hours at night when most of their team's pick wasn't until the very brutal end, and watched names being spoken. No musical performance, no band, no comedian, no lecturer. A sea of humanity stood outside at night for 3 hours and watched names being spoken. Like it was graduation. I can't believe that this has become a thing. In all of the successes the NFL has had, I cannot believe this has become a thing. I mean, I can in some ways because we've become an event culture. Instagram, Facebook, documenting where you are, what you're doing, going to things that seem a little bit out of the ordinary. You can only post pictures of your dinner for so long. You can only post pictures of your pets or kids. So you want to go places so that you have something to post. I mean, this has kind of become a bit of the culture. Let's go to this restaurant. Let's go to this event because at least it's something different we can post about, document my life. But there's nothing. There's nothing to do except watch a stage. And there's no act on stage. And the NFL has convinced us this is an event. And it looks great. The way they had Union Station lit up, it was beautiful against the backdrop, the historic train building. I know that area well, having lived in Kansas City. But I mean, and the fountain, and it's gorgeous when it's lit up like that. But there was no act. There was no concert. It was in the middle of the summer. And the Chiefs drafted number 31. Number 31, the end. I couldn't believe it. And it happens every year. Whether it's Nashville, Vegas, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Cleveland. Thousands of people show up to just watch a stage. Just watch. They're not engaged in any way besides just to sit around, BS, and drink a few beers and watch nothing. There's no game. There's no nothing. I can't believe it. And it just reminded me the chokehold sports has on our American society. We're not even showing up to games as much. We're just showing up to something adjacent to sports. It's just kind of like enough of a thing to get me out of the house. It's sports. It's football. So, yeah. It used to be a point in time where only the hardcore football fans really dug in and watched the NFL draft. Now, there's 3 different broadcasts. There's the NFL Network broadcast, there's the ESPN broadcast, and there's the ABC broadcast last night that was basically for the general audience. These are stories about the family. This is basically your college game day crew talking about the players' backgrounds and families. And wasn't there also a year where Fox also did it, where there was 4 different broadcasts?
That sounds right, that Fox got in the mix during that TV deal for 1 year.
It's extraordinary the event such a non-event became. It's extraordinary. It is one of the most astounding sports outcomes of my life that this event, and look, I got in the early 90s. I was like 10 or 11 when I first started watching the draft. Even at 8 or 9 years old, I didn't know what was going on. Before even I got into it, it was really off the radar. I mean, early 80s was when it was relegated to like guys sitting around with, rotary phones and smoking cigars.
The Penta Hotel.
At the hotel in a ballroom, and nobody's paying attention. And before that, in the 70s, it was such a non-entity, they didn't broadcast it. And players didn't get calls. They were drafted. They picked up the paper the next day to see where they went. There was no suits. There was no agents. There was no families in green rooms. Like back in the 70s, you didn't even know you were drafted until the next day. And I wonder what happened last night. Oh, I'm a Steeler.
What do you know?
Oh, I was out to dinner. We went to Steak and Shake. Oh, turns out I'm an Eagle. Now I play for the Eagles, Mom. To see this has now become a multi-network sea of humanity event there's not even a halftime. Was there a concert last night?
So I don't know unless you're there, but you kept hearing live music in the background, so I think they just kind of get whatever cover bands play the bars locally to come by.
I actually do think there was a band because it interrupted a live shot throughout. There was a
so they're playing music in between commercial breaks.
There was a band, a popular band. I forgot who, but they were supposed to perform at some point in the
So you get drinks, so some live music. They run highlights of the players getting picked, and then they all hoot and holler when their team's up.
I can't believe it. I love it. Believe me, I love it. The fact that this is a big thing just means that sports is this overwhelming presence in our American society.
And you could get tonight, too. Like, tonight is going to be a big deal there. Rounds 2 and 3, they're not even the first round picks.
Totally.
People flood the streets there.